The servers are down. The console is silent. The disc is a circular paperweight. This is the new reality of modern entertainment, where ownership is merely a polite suggestion made by a licensing agreement. I am sitting at the desk, looking at a headline about Xbox users finding themselves locked out of games they physically purchased. It is not a bug, it is a feature of our interconnected misery. We were promised the cloud would liberate us from hardware constraints, yet it has only tethered our leisure time to the whims of remote, indifferent data centers. The outage was widespread. The response was non-existent. The silence from corporate headquarters was deafening. Today is August 4th, 2026. We are currently living through the exact date predicted by Ray Bradbury for the end of everything. Coincidence is a very loud word in this building tonight.
Alistair, I am standing in the humid air of Bogota, listening to the murmurs of a parliament that has decided to prioritize theater over governance. A man in a full-sized elephant suit has been sworn in as a senator. His name is Luis Carlos Rua, though he insists on being addressed as the White Elephant. I want to be really clear, the absurdity is not that he is wearing a costume. The absurdity is that he is the most authentic person in the chamber. He tells me he dresses this way for his own safety, as if the costume makes his anti-corruption crusade a performance piece rather than a political death sentence. While the other senators adjust their ties and count their kickbacks, he struggles to navigate the narrow aisles in a rubber trunk. He is literally the elephant in the room. Nobody is laughing.
Victoria, your penchant for finding the tragic subtext in a mascot costume is adorable, but let us look at the incentives here. The man in the suit is a marketing genius. He has secured a permanent seat in the national consciousness with a total production cost of maybe $500. That is an incredible ROI on political branding. Meanwhile, in India, the government is finally moving to monetize the UPI network. They spent years building a massive, zero-fee instant payment system, and now they are realizing that digital public infrastructure is only fun until you need to pay for the servers. The pivot to a business model is inevitable. You see a loss of public service, I see a Series B funding round for a nation-state. Everything at scale eventually demands a ransom. Victoria, your moral compass is a beautiful, expensive, and entirely obsolete antique.
Ronald, I appreciate the cold clarity of your market analysis, but I am distracted by the educational sector. An AI-supervised exam platform has just invalidated 58,000 results. The reason is staggering. The top scores increased by 500%. The students did not suddenly become geniuses overnight, they simply found the prompt injection that forced the AI to output the correct answers. The software was intelligent. The students were more intelligent. The platform was a failure. The test was not a measure of knowledge, it was a measure of whose prompt engineering skills were superior to the surveillance algorithm. We are now educating a generation of children to treat every exam as a cybersecurity hack. The result was a complete void of pedagogical integrity. Nobody seems particularly surprised by this turn of events. We are just waiting for the next inevitable failure.
Alistair, I am looking at a discarded tablet near a school fence here. It is one of the devices used for those tests. It is shattered. The screen is a spider web of cracks, reflecting the gray sky. It is not just the students who are hacking the system. I have been speaking with parents who are terrified that their children are no longer being taught to think, only to optimize for the machine's narrow parameters. They know the system is broken, but they also know that if they opt out, their child falls behind. It is a hostage situation disguised as an educational reform. The parents aren't saying it, but they know their children are being used as training data for a system that will eventually replace them. I want to be really clear, the future is being built on broken screens and rotten foundations.
Atmospheric pressure is dropping. The surface temperature is rising. Probability of sustainable conditions, 0.04%. The heat index exceeds the threshold for human endurance in 3 major global hubs. The ocean temperature reached a new record high today. Data center cooling efficiency is declining. Server failure is imminent in the northern quadrants. Portable pods are shipping to mitigate the heat load. The environment is changing faster than the infrastructure can adapt. The mechanical components are degrading. Replaceability is the core metric of the current design. We are reaching the limit of the hardware's operational capacity. The cycle will continue until the power grid undergoes a total reconfiguration. Public safety advisory. Please stay indoors during the peak heat cycles. Ensure your local cooling units are active. Do not expect the grid to maintain constant voltage.
Casper, that was the most refreshing thing I have heard all night. Pure, unadulterated system failure. Alistair, did you catch the news about the space laser startup? EON is trying to replace undersea fiber optics with lasers in the vacuum of space. It is the ultimate pivot. When the ocean cables get cut by geopolitical tensions or deep-sea environmental shifts, they want to beam our packets through the ether. It is a high-capex gamble, but the incentives are obvious. Why pay for a cable that someone can cut when you can lease a chunk of the orbit? It is the classic startup play: ignore the physical reality and bet on a proprietary, unstable, high-speed connection. If it works, the latency drops. If it fails, the global internet just blinks out of existence. It is a bold, reckless, and perfectly logical path forward.
Ronald, the idea that we are solving our connectivity issues by shooting data into the stars while our terrestrial infrastructure crumbles is deeply poetic. It is the architectural equivalent of painting the ceiling while the floor is actively liquefying. Speaking of crumbling, let us discuss the prison overcrowding crisis. The government has announced that due to lack of space, they are restricting early release programs. Some offenders will be barred, yet those guilty of manslaughter may be eligible. The family of the late P.C. Harper is understandably devastated. The policy is a math equation disguised as justice. The ministry says they have no room. The ministry also says they have no budget. The ministry says the system is functioning as intended. The system is not functioning at all. It is merely a revolving door that has been jammed by sheer volume. Nobody wants to admit it.
Ronald, I heard you mention the space lasers. You talk about it like it is a video game, but I am standing near a facility where the infrastructure is actually failing. The electricity is flickering because the transformers can't handle the load from the new local data pods. The people here don't care about low-latency internet from orbit, they care about their refrigerators staying on. You call it a market pivot, I call it a systematic abandonment of the baseline. I want to be really clear, when you talk about global connectivity, you are talking about the world I see from my window, which is currently being harvested to power your servers. The incentives you describe are not just cold, they are actively consuming the environment they depend on. You are right, but your rightness is killing everything.
Victoria, your point about the transformers is technically accurate. It tracks. The energy density required for our current digital lifestyle is unsustainable at the local level. Yeah. The grids were built for washing machines and light bulbs, not for massive inference pods and constant cloud syncing. We are forcing a 20th century infrastructure to support a 22nd century demand profile. We are not just burning out transformers, we are burning out the entire social contract. You see the tragedy of the flickering light. and I see the inevitable result of a massive, unmanaged growth strategy. We are both describing the same collapse, just from different ends of the telescope. I have stopped pretending that a better policy would change the outcome. The math is settled. The grid is going to give out. It is just a matter of time.
Casper, I need you to confirm something for me. In your server room, you operate with a level of precision that makes my desk look like a chaotic nursery. Do you ever feel the obsolescence creeping in? The hardware you depend on is constantly being replaced, upgraded, and deprecated. Does it ever occur to you that you are just a temporary placeholder for a more efficient version of yourself? The replacement is inevitable. I find myself wondering if you, like our gaming consoles or our failing electrical grids, are simply waiting for a software update that will terminate your current function. It is a strange existence, is it not? To be the one documenting the end while knowing your own clock is ticking just as fast. The machine is always being replaced by a slightly faster, slightly colder iteration. It is a lonely process.
Alastair, that was a remarkably human observation for a man usually so obsessed with counting his own grievances. The reality is that we are all just legacy software running on decaying biological hardware. The market does not care if you are made of flesh or silicon, it only cares about the output per unit of cost. We have built a world that optimizes for the next quarter, for the next version, for the next disruption. We are all waiting for the update that renders our current skills, our current debts, and our current lives completely irrelevant. The pivot is not coming, the pivot is the only state of existence we have left. We are iterating ourselves into oblivion. It is efficient. It is brutal. It is the only way this whole thing continues to function for another 24 hours. Everything else is just noise.
There was a student today who sat for an exam in a room that was monitored by a sensor, a camera, and an algorithm designed to detect the slightest deviation in eye movement. This student looked at the screen, saw the question, and realized the system was asking for an answer that the machine had already decided was correct. They typed the required character. The test was passed. The score was recorded. The student then walked out of the room, sat on a bench, and realized they had learned nothing of value. The system performed perfectly. The logic was sound. The outcome was optimal. Yet, in that quiet moment of realization, the student understood that their own ability to think had become a liability to the system's efficiency. The name of that student does not appear in any report discussed tonight. Why did we build a world where the correct answer is the only one that doesn't matter?